Oh, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Neo4j track. My name is Adam. I'm a member of the developer relations team at Neo4j. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we've improved developer experience at Neo4j using developer experience. So my broad focus since joining the DevRel team has been on improving the developer experience. But more recently, I've been looking at how we educate our users and how we can improve their experience as they learn Neo4j. One problem I have is that I learned Neo4j so long ago that I can't really remember what I found useful when I was starting out. And moreover, I'm not really sure what a data scientist would be interested in learning, or what they may find useful in their first days. Do they care about Cypher? Do they care about data imports? I'm not quite sure. And how much information does a DevOps engineer need to know in order to run a Neo4j cluster? So I had all these questions going around in my head. Then it dawned on me, I'm far from an expert in how people learn, but I do know more around a graph database. So the question I posed to myself was, how can I use Neo4j to improve the learning experience? So I thought I'd lean on the experience I have as a field engineer working in the professional services team in Neo4j for a few years. And one project that really stuck with me was one from 2018. The inspiration of this blog post on importing Google Analytics data into Neo4j. So I was working with a company to combine their customer touch points with Google Analytics to create like a 360 view of customer interactions. But from that Google Analytics data, I was able to find out how a user interacted with the website, and then see how they how and when they fell out of the sales funnel, and where their customer service processes could be optimized. So I thought, well, why can't I do something similar here? So in order to do that, the first thing I'd need to do is to get some data. So it's important that I found a quick, cheap, and unobtrusive way to collect this data and then start analyzing. So since April, if you've accepted the cookie notice on neo4j.com website, then your journey through the docs and developer guides has been stored in a Neo4j database. So when a user visits the Neo4j developer guides for the first time, an anonymized record of their visit is sent to a lightweight API, which is built with TypeScript and Express. Sorry, Darryl. That request contains a unique user ID and session ID, which are already generated by Google Analytics, and some more information about the page that they're on. That information is then saved into an Aura database where I can analyze it using Cypher. In terms of the data stored in the database, I store a node that represents each user, and then use a session node to group a set of page views during their visit. And each one of those page views is then linked to a page node. So as the user navigates through the site, we build up a linked list of nodes which represent their journey. So then we can see where users go and where they go next when on a particular page. When a user returns to a site for another time, we create another session node and then subsequent page views, which then allows us to see what a user is interested when they return. So not only can we see what they're interested in the first time, but actually where they come for clarification afterwards. So this information is really useful in a broad context, but in order to do some more specific analysis, the API also returns some micro surveys at random, which allow us to learn a little bit more about the user and their motivations at that point in time. So you may have seen one of these boxes appear in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. This is used to ask questions such as, what is your job role and what is your level of experience with Neo4j? That information is stored with the user node. So by adding additional labels to the user to signify their experience level or their job role, then we can quickly filter down on a specific demographic and then analyze their behavior. So that data allows us to make better decisions on how and when we serve the content. So for example, let's take a look at the developer guides landing page. One of the assumptions that we had is that this page will most likely be visited by beginners without a specific goal in mind. They just want to learn Neo4j. So they may benefit from some additional guidance or a pathway to learning. So in order to find out what content may be useful to a beginner user, what I could do is go into the database and then look at the behavior of other beginners to see what information they found useful. So to do this, I wrote a Cypher query that firstly started off at any node, which was a user that told me that they were a beginner during those micro surveys, and then traverse the graph to build up an aggregated list of how frequently they're visited. So as behavior patterns can change over time, I went back and looked at the changes over time, and filtered for only visits that happened during the last 30 days. So this gave me a good starting point to form the copy of the page. All that's left for me to do is then to use my experience to group the content into a set of logical steps. But this data also allows us to validate some of those decisions that we've made along the way. So due to my biases, I'd say that the steps in this page are very geared towards a developer deploying an application. So the content may not be useful for a data scientist or a DevOps engineer. So a quick test that we could do to test the hypothesis was to add 3 buttons at the very top of the page above the fold. So it'd be the first thing that the user sees. These link to a curated list of content for developers, data scientists, or server admins. So by taking the previous query and adding an extra condition to the where clause, I could quickly see which page views immediately come after the developer landing page. So from the results, I can see that the top 2 links in that list are the most clicked, and they're the ones that we've added. So either this validates that the hypothesis is true, or we need to do something better with the copy below the fold in order to cater for those different users. As for the third link, I'm an administrator. So I can see from the overall number of users identifying as an administrator, it's fairly low compared to developers and data scientists. But surprisingly, that I'm an administrator link appears in the top 10. So that kind of shows me that the information doesn't really cater for an admin. So I could I could go and see whether that link was valid. I could check for the referrers to that Neo4j administration page. So unsurprisingly, the top link there is from the developer landing page. So I can see that the average of 33 seconds on the previous page tells me that a user is very quickly clicking through to the administrator page. So either the users are as impatient as me when finding data, or our content isn't very good. So kind of raises the question, could we improve that content, or can we serve the content for administrators in one less click? Another interesting referrer to this page is the Neo4j with Docker page. So this is a very content-heavy page, but it tells me that the content on the page should be reviewed. So users may not be finding that information that they're useful within that page, or maybe we could look at the type of content on that page, turn it into a guide which gives the user all of the information inside one page. As for the next steps as we go through, we'll need to keep an eye on the data as it evolves over time, and as we release new content, as we release new versions of Neo4j, that behavior will change. And one of the things I've done is I built a graph app for Neo4j desktop, which allows us to do that, so we can see the trends, see where people are moving, and which pages need more information. We can import in additional data sources to that, so maybe information around how users use Bloom or desktop, Neo4j browser, and then see where we can better educate people, or where people start to come back in the site. We're already running experiments with the data, including running NLP pipelines to analyze the content and find similar pages, and also using the clustering and label propagation algorithms in the Graph Data Science library to automatically cluster those pages by the type of user that visits them. So then we can provide some better content for users, some better curation of that content. And then just keep experimenting, really. So keep an eye out on neo4j.com/developer. Some of those changes that we make may just be driven by the Neo4j database. So that's it for me. I appreciate that was a lot of information to cram into 10 minutes. I'm around for the panel if anyone needs to ask any questions. If you want to know any more, you can reach out to me. My email is adam@neo4j.com, or you can reach out to me on Twitter, where my username is Adam Cowley. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your days.